Look at you, hacker. A pathetic creature of meat and bone.
All right, it's me, your boy Joey, and we're gonna try something a little different. Uh, we're gonna analyze a grandmaster game, and for that, we're gonna go. I've started trying the Tarrasch defense a while ago, and it's because a friend of mine a couple years ago gave me this book, 300 Chess Games by Tarrasch, and some of the games are really interesting. I've also, they say that going over grandmaster games, looking at them yourself, trying to understand them, is one of the ways to get better, and we want to get better. So this is the first game in the book. I'm going to go over it myself first and try and figure out what's going on. Then we'll look at the annotations, because there's some annotated moves in the book. And I don't think we're going to use the computer. I think we're just going to avoid the computer entirely, because I'm interested in Tarrasch's thoughts, but I'm not interested in what the computer thinks about a game from fucking 1879, which is when this game was played. So let's do it. Tarrasch is white. We're always going to play. We're going to go through a bunch of the games. Hopefully I'm going to make a few videos of games from this book. This is the very first game in the book, but we'll always orient the board as though we're Tarrasch, because we're going to think about it from Tarrasch's point of view. Yeah. His first move, a3. Fucking ridiculous. I don't understand it all. Yeah. It says this is an irregular opening, or the irregular opening. I don't know. His opponent responds with e5, claiming some of the center. This does not claim any of the center. So I don't know what Tarrasch is thinking here. I mean, his next move, c4. Okay, that I understand. I play the English, and this is a flank opening. But now we're a tempo behind. Like, if you play c4 first, you still have white's initiative. Like, I don't know about a3. I mean, maybe he's worried about a bishop pin, but he doesn't have a piece there yet. Okay. So knight comes out, tries to control these center squares, adds control. So black's behaving classically, trying to control the center. I mean, we're trying to control d5 with this. We also have a real strong grip on fucking b4, for what that's worth. I shouldn't criticize. Okay, so I mean, this adds to our control of d5, which is good. Also contests his control of that. So far, the only move that I don't understand is his first move. The rest of this is like classical. We're trying to. I mean, maybe he really just wants to maintain control of d5 and does not want to have to deal with this bishop coming here and putting a pin. Maybe he has ideas of jumping to here and making this pawn push. We'll have to wait and see. I wish there was a way to hide this so we can't really look ahead, but whatever. Brings his knight out, adds to control of that, and yeah, we're contesting his control of the center, and maybe still looking for this pawn push. We don't appear to be at any disadvantage. I mean, black is more developed already. And so yeah, he looks to open it up, takes, and then here, develop. I don't know about this move. Well, my problem with this move is what if knight takes, pawn takes, and then this pawn push? This knight just has to go back, or could jump here, but that loses a pawn to this business, and it gets kind of messy. Like, I don't know if that's the wisest move. Black doesn't go in for it. Just pins the knight. So now the threat is this, or rather, what I just said. The threat is takes, and then push, losing this piece. Makes it so that's no threat at all. Take. I made that move myself rather than. Sorry, I should be clicking forward, not making moves on the board. But it is the move that Tarrasch made, and now yeah. I mean, he's more developed. He's pushing for an attack. My opponent, Tarrasch's opponent rather, and now he strikes in the center. Well, it gives the knight a square to run back to. This and this is probably fine. This also probably fine, and then I actually kind of like white's structure instead of black's, although black has more space. It can be fractured with bishop takes bishop. Unless he goes bishop takes bishop, threatening the queen, and then pushes. So let's see what happens. He pushes immediately. Yeah. Knight back. Bishop takes. Queen takes. All very logical. It seems maybe he's just looking to expand. Because I'm certain he's not too worried about Tarrasch using his queen to pin the knight. That seems ridiculous. Castle. I suspect this move is coming. We wanna break up these pawns, or challenge at least. Okay, so castles developing. Oh yeah, I didn't even see that. That's a good tactic. Oh, it's not a good tactic. I thought it won that pawn, but blocks with. And then queen here. This is interesting. This is kind of aggressive. So Tarrasch is he's being kind of fearless with his queen here. These pieces are not, really helping out yet, and he's gone with his queen. Like, is his idea to come here and threaten this rook? The rook comes here, grab this pawn, just to interfere with castling? Maybe? We'll see. Queen to here. So maybe looking to castle long. And now, wow. Okay. So he cedes the space. He gives black the option of just keeping this pawn here. If he wants. I mean, black could take en passant, but yeah, he kind of locks shit down, doesn't he? I mean, it's a strong seeming pawn structure. I don't see how black's challenging it right away. The queen seems less in danger now. I mean, bishop here, queen here, offering the queen trade. The queen takes, the pawn takes, and then you can reinforce with this pawn. Things seem really locked down over here, and so I don't know that the queens are off the board then, so the king's safety is not such an issue. Castle's long. Okay. Oh, moves to an open file. Logical. This pawn's still... Oh, sorry. This pawn's still protected by this bishop. I'm not sure what his plan is. Maybe he'll... I mean, I would want to start developing my pieces. This is another idea. Just put a question to this bishop. It's not got a lot of squares. It comes here, comes here. If it goes here, knight into here is not bad, right? Because then you get a protected passed pawn. That's a move I would consider. But I am not a grandmaster. Brings his queen back. I guess maybe he's afraid of this move. Threatening there. Maybe he has some other sort of strategic plan. And now expansion. Not expansion, but starts pushing his pawns on the king's side. That's a good tactic. I didn't see that. Knight takes. So I missed that aspect of this queen retreat, because now he's got this tactic. This pawn is pinned, and now he's forking queen and bishop. Maybe he's going to take this bishop off. We'll see. We'll see. Yeah, queen to there, breaking the pin. So the knight has to go somewhere. And he takes the dark square bishop. Rook comes in. This pawn can... Both of these pawns are sort of targets now. Yeah. And you can come at them both with this. I mean, this one's protected twice by the queen and the bishop. This one's not protected at all. So maybe bishop to here. But then, I don't know, rook to here. It gets kind of, you know, then we're protecting pawn with the rook. This pawn safety is not the best. Pawn safety, that's a new thing. Okay, let's see what happens. Queen comes in. That was threatening. Yeah, so threatening this pawn doubly. So he needs to take a moment to do that. And that undercuts. Yeah. So now he's not bringing a rook to this square, that's for sure. So that makes this pawn a little safer. I suspect that this is looking to double up here, while keeping. Yeah, I suspect this is the fastest way to double up there, rather than needing to move the bishop. Bishop's okay where it is right now. It isn't needed for the protection of this pawn yet. All right, and black keeps pushing on the king side. Wants to break this open. Just doubles. Says go ahead. I'm not sure what's more dangerous here. Whether I'd be more worried about this push, because the queen doesn't want to stay here forever anyway, right? So push, yeah. queen comes back. Maybe, you know, rook takes here and then queen here. That's not the safest. Okay, so the rook comes back to defend. Queen moves anyway. Rook moves over. There's no ideas of a queen sacrifice here because that would not be checkmate. Check. Take the rook. The king is here. Yeah, you're not getting. I don't think you're getting enough for the queen. But let's see. Rook to there. This looks like it loses a rook, but I suspect queen to here is going to be the solution. Rook takes, queen takes, yeah, pinning. And then, yeah, that just wins, right? That just wins. Because if the king has to move here, so the king moves here, then you take this with check. King has to move. It's not checkmate though. Well, we'll see what Tarrasch says. Actually, let's try and figure this out ourselves. So the king has to go here. Check. Oh, I see why. Okay. King to here. This is check. King has to go here. This is also check. King can take, but then we've got a queen and all they have left is a knight. Yeah, that's a lost position for sure. Black resigned. Tarrasch claims the victory. Now let's go back and see. There's a couple of places where there are comments from Tarrasch in the game. So ridiculous a3 move. Maybe not that ridiculous. c5. Where are we going? We're going to okay. He criticizes this move. He says this bishop belongs on e6. So he thinks that he should have come here rather than this. Does not explain why. This bishop belongs on e6. Okay. Bishop e2. Knight takes. Both sides follow the famous patterns of Anderson and Morphy. The latter used to make this faulty exchange, which reinforces White's center considerably. I think so as well. I think that when, in the English anyway, it's better to move the knight back here than to take here because, I mean, this is strong. This is a strong center. So, you know, I think maybe just once this grandmaster might have got it right. Yeah, so exchanging the knights there, you know, you've moved your knight a couple of times and exchange it for a piece that's only moved once, and this is strong, and you can still fianchetto behind it. So maybe that's indeed a faulty exchange. Maybe not much has changed since 1879. What year is it now? 2079? 2270? Anyway, we're in the future, and some things are still the same. We move forward. F5. This is to protect the bishop from the threat of knight takes e5, but was perhaps not necessary. Yeah. Knight takes e5. Knight takes e5. If pawn takes, queen takes here, bishop takes here, and then bishop takes here, and then king takes here. Doesn't seem that bad for black. That seems better for black. So yeah, maybe that's not necessary. It also stops like any, like if there's any kind of, sometimes there's a trick where if there's a piece here you can take, and then they can't take back, and you're threatening a hanged piece, a hung piece with your bishop, so they have to take, and then you take back with the knight, and then you've just won whatever was here, the pawn or the. But that would protect against that as well. And we keep moving forward. Yeah, a6, it says this is to prevent queen to b5. I guess this pins and also threatens this and this. So, oh yeah, okay, so this forks two pawns. So it's not the pin that he's trying to prevent, it's the fork of these two pawns. That is an important distinction. So this is not all that ridiculous a move. Yeah, queen to b5 here, and what does he do? Something like this. Queen here, then rook here. Yeah, it's not great. But in any case, that was the intention behind that move. Okay. Here Tarrasch says, I was still following the Anderson-Morphy pattern. Nowadays, I would move the pawn one square only in order to recapture with the pawn after. Oh wow, that seems like it would be very weakening. So he's saying that he would go, nowadays he would do this. So on this capture, he could do this. That seems pretty, I mean, you know, this is your castle. This is your castle. Yeah, I don't know if I understand that. After e takes f3, and then advance the e pawn with a decisive advantage. And then just expand in the center. Yeah. I mean, there's no pawn here, but there's also no pawn here, and you've got pawns here, here, and here. You've got this huge block of center pawns, and yeah, I guess that is an advantage. Decisive? Maybe. I don't know. I'm not a grandmaster. That's what he says, though. Of course, the knight sacrifice on d4 has to be avoided, which can be done by rook to b1. I don't know. I don't know if I'm seeing this. Hang on. Push, take, take. And he wants to avoid a knight sacrifice on d4. So, knight sacrifice on d4. What's okay, let's just say castles again, because then he says pushing here, and then he wants to avoid the knight sacrifice. This, and this is what I assume. Oh yeah, okay, because it forks that, and this is not connected to the other rook. But he says you can avoid that with, before pushing, going rook to b1. Okay. I follow. I follow. He saw a tactic a few moves down in a completely alternate line that he didn't even play. Thanks for the useful commentary. But it is worth being aware of that, I guess, when you're pushing in the center and you got disconnected rooks. That's why connecting your rooks is important. Okay, f4. Long castle, rook to b1. Though I don't think that sacrifice works now, right? Because you just take it back with the pawn. Knight to e7. Queen h3. The queen, now misplaced, plans to go to the other side of the board. Black overlooked the ensuing threat, as did I. The pin. But I guess he's also saying that the queen was misplaced here and wants to get to the other side of the board. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, this is where the attack's going to come. Yeah, exchanges that off. Gives himself an exclamation point for this move. This idea of doubling up by going to rook f2. I mean, it's a nice move. I mean, there's a strong attack over there, but can you give yourself an exclamation point? I guess if you're, of course you can. Yeah, you're analyzing. You're like, this is a strong move. I'm glad I came up with this idea. They just keep pushing. d7, queen to d2. Okay, so this puts the queen on the same diagonal. The queen, no. Of course, the extra pawn is enough to win, but the following end combination should be prevented by queen to d6. Yeah. Queen to d6 here would change things considerably, because then when the queen takes here, so to go rook, well, let's do it. It goes different now, right? Because this is still a pin, but the queen can come here. And what's the follow-up? Right? This is protected. This square is protected. Yeah, now it looks like white's just given away a rook. Queen to d6. But queen to d6 was not played. Rook to c7 was played. And the temporary sacrifice of a rook. Queen takes. And we wind up in this position. And the final comment that Tarrasch makes on this says, "It is remarkable that white, while persistently pursuing the attack, never gets around to developing the dark-squared bishop, and white doubled his rooks without moving the bishop. The reader can find a similar development, or non-development, in my tournament game, on game number 291 in this volume." Well, it'll take us a while to get there, but that was a nice combination. Temporary sacrifice of the rook, but king's got to go here. Win the rook back. King's got to go here. Take. And yeah, black is a queen up. That is a victorious position. Though, of course, his grandmaster opponent, were they grandmasters at this point? It doesn't say. His opponent saw it at this stage and just resigned. That was a nice game. I made fun of him for giving himself the exclamation point back for this move, but that is a nice move. It keeps this protected, and he just ignores this kingside attack. It's too slow. Yeah, and the temporary sacrifice of the rook. I don't even know if you could call it a sacrifice. That's a really nice combination. Yeah, because it with the queen pin, and then yeah, what does the queen do? Does queen d6 work at this point? No, it doesn't, because of that. Yeah, and then you gotta go there, and then here, and then you win the rook again. Then you're a rook up. That's and the queens are still on the board. I mean, maybe there's a better way to do it than that, but queen d6 doesn't save it. That's the point there. Yeah, this rook's just undefended. Yeah, nothing here works. You can't block. That doesn't work because of this. And this bishop never even needed to move. That was a nice game. By Siegbert Tarrasch. Game 1 from 300 chess games. I hope that you enjoyed this video and found it interesting. I hope to do more of them.